Hey team, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian, core design engineer with Brunswick Bowling, and it's an exciting time in the bowling season. International Bowl Expo has just wrapped up, and we're in full swing as far as trade show season is concerned. All of the brands have brought their new products for display for the new bowling season for fall, for August and September, and Brunswick is pulling no punches. They are releasing two brand new Pro Performance products for the fall bowling season. They are the new Mesmerize and the Vaporize. And when Brunswick comes out with a dual launch of Pro Performance products, you know you're bringing all the technology. And with these two releases, they are, including the new HK22C cover blend. And we're going to get into all the details about the new core in the Mesmerize, the new cover stock formulations on the Mesmerize and the Vaporize, and even bring you a comparison chart to show you where all of these products fit in a dual launch video series to commemorate the dual launch products that Brunswick is bringing. So this is going to be the more traditional video where we're going to talk about the new cores, the cover stocks, and just general ball motion properties. And in the next video, I'm going to introduce to you a chart. This isn't going to be a reoccurring series. This is just going to be maybe a once yearly expo refresh to give you an idea of where the brand new products fit relative to the rest of the Brunswick products when you're building your arsenal. Because realistically, we're building this arsenal of products for each brand for you, the consumer, and we want to make sure that you have the best resources to understand how the products would fit into your game and for your arsenal. And that's what we're going to do in the second video. But first, we're going to start where we always start in these videos, and that, of course, is with the core of it. We're going to talk about this brand new Mesmerize core. It is the Tri-elliptic core. It's brand new top to bottom, and it has a very unique shape. This core is a 251 RG that's squarely in the middle for a mid-revving motion. It's got an 056 total differential that's very high for near max flare potential, and a medium-high intermediate differential of 017. That intermediate differential is going to help the response to friction when the ball encounters it. Now, it is the shape that is very unique about this one, and it is a very particular design, but it is very particularly engineered as well, and I'm going to explain a little bit of the detail of this one. I think regardless if you're a very tech-minded engineer or you're a little less like that, you're going to appreciate the level of detail that went into this brand new core. It's got 3 ellipses, hence the name, but the midband is what harbors all the asymmetry of this core. It's got a massive midband that drives the RG down, centers the mass concentration in the middle of this core, so that is the portion of the core that's driving the RG down. You'll notice that it's a very mid-RG core, and we'll talk about the ellipses on the top and the bottom after this. But first I want to note that when you put your thumb into this ball as a thumb-in player, or if you drill a very long dot to center of grip distance for a no-thumb bowler, then you're going to intersect this midband. This midband is harboring all the intermediate differential, so if you put your thumb or your fingers for a no-thumb bowler in the area of the mass bias, you're going to get a much needed boost in intermediate differential for a sharper change of direction when you encounter friction for strong layouts. If you swing the PSA out near the VAL and get that PSA away from the thumb or away from the fingers for a no-thumb bowler toward the PAP of the ball, then you're gonna have a very early revving, fast revving core, and you're gonna tame the intermediate differential because you're intersecting a different part of this midband, and you're gonna have a earlier but also a rounder and smoother overall shape that is very continuous. So this midband is very important for basically toggling the amount of intermediate differential that you're able to achieve with this core, and that is very purpose-built and very useful in layouts. If that's a little over your head, just be sure to talk to your local pro shop. They can put it in words that you can understand. And if you're a high-level tournament player or professional, then hopefully you understand the layout versatility that's involved with this midband. But of course, we still have these upper and lower ellipses. The upper one is concentric with the shell. That means that no matter where you put the fingers, you're relatively going to intersect the same amount of the core mass. So we have a very predictable amount of core mass removal, regardless of the layout that you choose with this upper ellipse, and that is by design. Not only that, of course, the upper and the lower ellipses are driving mass away from the center of mass. The concentration of mass is away from the center of mass of the ball. That's going to drive the RG up. That's going to balance the low RG midband to give you a nice medium 251 RG. So they're in effect working in tandem to create a nice medium RG, but we have both high RG and low RG fractions of this core that come together to create a nice middle ground. But more than that, because their mass is away from the center of mass, they're going to create more torque in the mid lane. This ball makes a lot of shape from the mid lane to the pins for a ginormous asymmetrical ball at the top of your bag. This Mesmerize does things that other asymmetrical, sanded, aggressive early bowling balls tend not to do. We'll get into the ball motion shape in a little bit, but it is quite impressive. And of course, that bottom ellipse, like the top one, concentric with the shell, but more than that, it's harboring a heavy multi-density piece. That donut shape that's at the bottom of this core is also helping to concentrate mass away from the center of mass of this core. So all told, you get a ball that is kind of dynamically unstable when it's in motion, and it wants to change direction when it sees friction. Normally I would mention Dynamicore and jump right to the shell of this ball, but we have to pause and take a moment to talk about Dynamicore 2, the purple outer now. This material is slightly different. It's a higher cost material, which is why you only see it in the Pro Performance balls in the Brunswick lineup at its current state. Now, this material, of course, Dynamicore, was a higher coefficient of restitution material, allowed for less compression of the inner core. Higher strength to weight ratio meant more hitting power at the pins for the outer core material for the original blue Dynamicore. This one takes that and amps it up even a little more with a slightly higher strength to weight ratio material for Dynamicore 2. But more than that, the focus was on the bonding between the surfaces. So between the inner core and the outer core material, there's obviously a bonding surface there. And between the outer core material and the shell, there's a bonding surface there. And when those bonds are strengthened, that means that the interface between the materials is not as weak, and more hitting power can be transferred to the pins because the energy transfer through the layers of the core, outer core, and cover stock are not interfered with. All of that results in slightly more hitting power than Dynamicore, and we're getting closer and closer to that thick shell ball reaction that you get, but we're able to achieve much different RG target ranges with this Dynamicore 2 material, allowing us to create a low RG or a medium RG ball, where with two-piece materials, you're kind of constrained to a high RG orientation for the inner core. So with that, make sure that you check the link. I'll put it right here in the corner, and you can link in the description for the material for marketing on Dynamicore 2 if you want to learn even more about that material. Moving over now to the cover stock side of things, we're going to talk about the brand new HK22C, the base material that is the HK22 with cohesion additive package, along with the Evo additive package, all in a sanded solid format to give you the strongest cover that we've ever put on a Brunswick ball. Now, strong can be a dangerous word because in previous iterations, strong might have meant so early that it's unusably early or just mid-laney and quitty at the back of the lane, but that is the beauty of the cohesion cover stock. With previous HK22 balls, our long and strong stuff was just that. It was very long and very strong, very impressive back-end motion, possibly industry-leading back-end motion out of HK22 cover base. But with various additive package prior to cohesion, if you sanded it, it could get a little jerky because it was using so much energy so quickly in the mid lane that it could jerk and stop a little bit. With cohesion, starting with the hammer effect, we found a way to add continuation to these strong asymmetrical balls, and although the hammer effect was a compounded ball, I think users found the level of back-end traction and continuation to be pretty impressive for a compounded shiny ball, and the usability on more oil volume was apparent. Now with this sanded equivalent, we've just got overall more continuation from the mid lane to the pins than we're used to seeing out of a strong sanded asymmetrical ball. So the utility is still the same, where the ball picks up the mid lane early, reads early, digs into the mid lane, and makes sure it slows down in the right part of the lane for those heavy patterns, those high volumes, or if you're a speed dominant player, for the volumes that you need it to. But it continues in a way that other balls used to go forward. That is the beauty of the cohesion additive package in this HK22 base, but it's also a product of the new core design that's adding more torque in the right places. And because of that, we can use a much higher RG core, whereas before, and it's still in the medium RG range relatively speaking, but you look at your Ultimate Defender that came before this one, it's in the 248 range. You look at the Intense Mindset, or the Mindset series in general before this, also in the 247, 248 range. Now we can have a 251 core that wants to rev and read a little later on the lane, but you don't feel like the ball is going to miss the mid lane even on the heaviest, soupiest of conditions, and that is a ball motion that people are not used to seeing. I don't have to spend as much time on this Vaporize, but it is still worth taking a look at the core inside this one because we brought back an absolute icon. It is the original shape of the Vapor Zone core. This is going to be an absolute nostalgia piece, but it is obviously bolstered by new technologies such as Dynamicore 2 and the HK22C cover base with the Evo additive package. Now, the iconic Vapor Zone core needs really no introduction. If you had success with this one in years past, then you're absolutely going to want to try to pick this one up. And if you didn't match up with some of the remake balls that had the Vapor Zone core in it, you're going to want to reconsider taking a look at this one because the technology has surpassed the previous cover stocks and made this one an absolute show pony. So talking about the core, before I get too far ahead of myself, the 248 is on the low side of medium. This is going to be a medium fast revving core. An 048 is much less total differential than we have with the Mesmerize. So this one's going to be a lot easier through the fronts with less flare potential for more medium oil conditions. 17 intermediate differential matches the Mesmerize, but with a much different core shape and core characteristics. This one is going to be sharper at the back of the lane, not nearly as mid-lane secure or as early as a Mesmerize, even if you sanded it. So with this core shape, what you're getting is effectively a danger zone symmetrical shaped core, but elongated in the intermediate direction to make an elongated light bulb shape with 17 points of intermediate differential. But some of those original traditional light bulb shape characteristics are still apparent in the motion of this core, including its sweeping, arcing, continuous, and some would say climbing motion that it makes at the back of the lane. Unlike other asymmetrical balls, such as the Mindset series and even to a certain degree the Mesmerize, that are very jerky and can get a little rolly off the end of the pattern, the light bulb shaped cores with the higher center of mass tend to sweep and arc just a little better, and that improves the continuation. So the core is aiding in the continuation, and the HK22 cover base with both cohesion additives and Evo Pearl additives mean that you're going to have an industry-leading cover, shiny cover on oil volumes. So basically what this means is you have a long and strong reaction. I wouldn't call it the sharpest reaction that you've ever seen, but it is going to be a lot from the mid lane to the pins, and it's going to be a very continuous arcing, climbing motion. It's not going to quit. That is the beauty of the cohesion cover, and it's only being bolstered by the Vapor Zone core. So this new Vaporize is a repackaged version of the successful shape that you saw back in the day with the original Vapor Zones, or the original Zone classic asymmetrical cores that you were seeing, and those balls were really turning heads in the early 2000s. Well, I think I've talked enough for one video. Make sure you check out the one that is upcoming, where we're going to talk about the placement in your arsenal for each of these balls. I'm going to show you how to build a 6-ball arsenal using only Brunswick balls in the current lineup, and just give you general discussion topics for how you think about building your arsenal and selecting balls that you should purchase. we're in the business of selling bowling balls, but we're not asking you to buy every single bowling ball that comes out onto the market. We're asking you to consider the technology that we're putting into these products and how they would affect and improve your game, and to make sure that you're buying a bowling ball that you need to fill a gap in your arsenal, and not just buying a bowling ball for the sake of buying a bowling ball. So that's coming up in the next video. If you are curious to see the arsenal building videos for any of the other brands, the Hammer and the DV8 Bowl Expo videos are already up for arsenal building, and I'll continue to do this with the other brands of Brunswick as Bowl Expo and the trade, well, I guess Bowl Expo's over, as the trade show season rolls on, and I'll make sure that you understand how all of our products fit together, and hopefully together we can help you enjoy your experience more. Until next time, thanks for watching.